everything is working. It's always okay. I think we're live. There we go. Hey everyone. So welcome to Wednesday's Facebook Live. We're going to kind of go over seller financing. So this has been a big term. I've been getting a lot of comments and just feedback like, hey, what does seller financing mean? How can you use this in self-storage? And so I want to kind of go over like the seller financing playbook for like 2025 and the future moving forward, as this is a big competitive advantage. And I want you guys to understand what it means and then make this something that you use in your, when you talk to owners, when you talk to brokers. This is huge. So most people like think that they need big money, they need like big connections in order to buy their very first storage facility in 2025. I always want to say like this is false, like complete BS. And I want to tell you like the truth here. So like my students right now are locking up deals with seller financing, 10% down, and also bringing in private capital and other money partners. And so sometimes they can come in out of pocket, literally zero down with this deal. So when you bring you guys a good deal to the table, such as finding a storage facility and saying, hey, I would love to negotiate it either with seller financing or, hey, this is a great deal that the seller wants to sell. You guys can now carve off a little bit of that equity and come in and say, hey, does anyone want to come into this deal? So you are putting an opportunity together on a silver platter and saying, hey, does anyone want to come in as a money partner? So we're going to kind of go over what seller financing means, break it down into different steps. And then I want to show you examples of what my students are doing right now to get seller financing deals locked up. And then also just some creative ways how I have done it in order to wholesale a storage facility. And then number two, how you actually can present one to a storage owner or even a storage broker in general. So number one, we're going to talk about turning the seller into the bank. So seller financing 101. I love talking about this because Pace Morby style, he does this very well. He has a great kind of metaphor that he uses. And so what seller financing is, you guys, is just the act of a seller being the bank. And so everyone wants to kind of be the bank, right? Because you get paid mailbox money with an interest rate. So when you come to a seller, you can always ask, them to say, hey, if you're open to being the bank, I can possibly give you a little bit more money if you're open to giving me terms, right? And so this is how Pace does it. And his story here is that he had an F-150. His famous F-150 story is where he had this for like 10 years and he like prized this possession of this like F-150 and it was just sitting like in his garage, and his wife wanted this F-150 like gone. And so if you went to like Kelley Blue Books, like the value of the F-150 was only like $5,000, right? Pace was like, this is more, I want $10,000 for it. So he put it on Craigslist for $10,000 and literally got 0 comments back. No one wanted to buy it. And so his wife came back and was like, hey, like, can you sell this F-150? Like, I want space. Like, I want my space, right? And so as the creative financing guy, he went on there and just changed one word. And it was F-150 for sale will take payments. And when he said that, that's where the light bulb went off. And he had like 45 people who messaged him. And so this is just a really clean, clear example of what seller financing is. And so over time, he actually ended up selling this to someone who was going to use this truck for work. And so he actually sold it for $12,500. And he created a seller financing situation where this gentleman would pay him $350 every single month for 5 years with like a 5% interest. And so he was actually able to sell this truck for $12,500. So he got more money than he even thought possible by taking terms, and the gentleman was able to use this truck for work and bring in around $7,000 gross a month. So it was a win-win situation for both parties. So you can do this exact same thing in self-storage. We bought a facility with seller financing. We have also wholesaled a storage facility with seller financing. And so it works in multiple different ways. And so you get to negotiate the price. So these are the 4 things that we like to negotiate is like the price, the down payment, the interest rate, and then how long you'll make the payments for, right? The balloon. And then you have the amortization schedule as well. And so why this is awesome is because when you do a storage facility with seller financing, there is normally less headaches because it can be like a 5 to 10 page document. You literally go through due diligence and can close the next week. And you don't always have to do all the crazy appraisals and reports that a bank would sometimes want, even though I highly advise it. And then you also, which another thing is that you can often or the seller can often make more over time with mailbox money. So there's a lot of benefits for you as the buyer, and then also a lot of benefits as the seller as well. And so the great part to this is seller financing is when the owner becomes the bank, and both you guys win with these creative deals. Okay, so what we're going to kind of do is I want to give you guys a real life example. So this is a storage deal that we negotiated. It was a nice 45,000 square foot facility with some extra room. Literally the owner wanted $3 million. That was it. In his mind, he was like, I won in this deal if I can get $3 million with it. Really, it was worth maybe 2.6, 2.7 in this market. And so what we did was we said, hey, you had this paid off. Would you be open to being the bank? Right. And if we said, would you be open to being the bank if you could make more money and, have mailbox money over time and decrease your capital gains taxes? And he was like, you know what? Yes. And so we educated him. That's the key piece, is you need to educate them on what seller financing is. And then the second thing is you need to build know, like, and trust. And so this is an important piece. So when we made this deal, we said, hey, Mr. Seller, we can give you that $3 million price if you're open to being flexible on the terms. And he was. And so what this looked like was we had a $3 million deal, 0% interest. This is what's wild. And we had a 40-year amortization on a 20% down, and then a 10-year balloon, which was no prepayment penalties. And so this was, for him, he was like, hey, I just want to be paid for 10 years and I want this money, mailbox money, which is something that he doesn't have to work for. So in this example, this deal cash flow is wild because it's 0% interest. You're just only making principal payments over time. But I think what is very interesting is that this storage owner was able to, pocket some money up front. And then also he gets monthly payments of around $6,600, which is incredible by doing absolutely nothing. And then what this does for us as a buyer is that you can decrease your risk, because now with seller financing, you're not locked down with collateral from a bank, right? You are, yes, the facility is back, or the seller, if you do not make a payment, it's always backed by its property. So if you do not make a payment, the property will go back to the seller. So there is a lot of great opportunities on both sides. And then also coming in with only 20% down is a huge thing, because at this point right now, banks want 35 or more, down if you go the conventional route. So there is a lot of opportunity on the table to do this with mom and pop owners that want that mailbox money. And then another thing that lots of people don't think about, but is important for, educating the seller, is that this seller was like, I don't want to pay a huge, 20 to 30% capital gains tax if I got the big lump sum in front. And so we get to divide these payments over 10 years. And so he gets to reduce that capital gains over that time period, which can be, depending on his bracket, and area and state, it could be 20 to 30%. So huge benefits here. So the next thing is, I always like to say, don't let banks kill deals. Make the seller your bank and then control the future of the deal, because the way you structure any deal is going to give you the most amount of cash flow and then your opportunity to exit in the future. And it can also decrease your risk. And that is the whole name of the game in as an investor, is how do you decrease your risk and how do you increase cash flow by optimizing, and then how do you decrease your expenses over time, right? That is literally business in a nutshell. And so we're going to talk about the 3-part offer method that I teach my self-storage school students. And this is still very much seller financing, but it's giving the seller choices, right? It's literally saying, hey, Mr. Seller, I've got 3 offers for you. This, we are going to be doing this with my storage school students on Thursday with a real deal. A gentleman in Missouri, we will be presenting him offers, just like a menu in front of him. And what this looks like is the go-to menu is offer number one is always a conventional bank offer, right? So we can give you this price with, with bank is 35% down at a 7% interest, about, maybe $2.7 million, right? And then option number two is, hey, if you are open to being the bank and doing seller financing, it's the middle offer. We can give you $3 million and maybe 10% down with a 5.5% interest, with a 30-year amortization and a 10-year balloon. So now we have decreased our down payment and we have decreased their interest rate, but we have increased his purchase price and his total payment to himself over that 10-year period. So he's making money, right, over time. And then the third option is still seller financing, but this is the premium seller financing offer that, when sellers look at it, sometimes they just look at the big purchase price, and this is what it is. It is we can give you, Mr. Seller, $3.2 million with maybe 5% down, a 3% interest, a 30-year amortization, and a 10-year balloon. And so when you put this in front of them, you put these options side by side, just like a menu, and you give them this opportunity and choice, and you show them how much interest they will make in 10 years plus the purchase price, and their jaw normally drops. And they're like, wait, what? They can make, maybe it was $3.8 million over time because they're being paid in interest. And so this is where it really becomes a win-win situation, where they get to take control. They get to say what would work best for them. And then it opens up that conversation to continue that conversation over time of like which one they want to pick. And normally that also breeds time for you to build know, like, and trust. And so we have done this in multiple different situations. We teach our self-storage school students with one of our calculators. You literally enter the information of the underwriting tool set and it pops out 3 offers automatically. It's incredible. And so this really helps my storage school students to submit a 3-part offer really, really fast so that they can either get a yes, no, or a number. And that is the whole goal with this. Okay. It's giving sellers choices, which give them empowerment. And it also allows you to have, better terms for your deal, which allows you to cash flow more and have a better opportunity to not only increase its cash flow, but also to increase the purchase price later on when you go to exit. Okay. So now we're going to talk about another student. So this is an example number 3. And so we're going to talk about like creatively stacking funds and doing a creative offer stack. And this is what I teach my storage school students is we have a student right now that drove for dollars. He's incredible. He was been only in the program for like 12 weeks. He not only has 1 facility under contract, he has 2 in Texas. And so he went driving for dollars and he put 2 facilities under contract. He is currently taking these facilities down with 0 money out of his own pocket. And so the reason for this is the creative stack. So he is taking this down with an SBA loan. So you only have to put 10% down. He then went to his work and he has one of his high up bosses who's the capital partner who's going to be putting that 10% down and coming in as an equity partner, with him into the deal. So he has 0 money out of his pocket. And then when he goes to close this deal, he will be using private capital in order to put together a capital expenditure, or he will be using some of the capital and the SBA loan to get things that need to be done to revamp that facility to increase its operational capacity, right? And so I just want to show you guys that this is an option for you. How to do it is you can use an SBA 7A or 504 loan to get 90 to 85% loan to value, which is huge, you guys, versus 35%. You can bring in an equity partner that is going to be the cash to put down the down payment on that deal, right? And so that person is going to come in with 0 money out of his pocket from storage school, and he's going to have 2 storage facilities. And then if you needed extra capital, you can also kind of create a little buffer with private lenders that can come in and then fund that side piece that you need to add on to your facility. So the whole moral of this story is being able to use seller financing or a creative capital stack not only gives you a competitive edge, but you are coming in, you're utilizing your skill sets. And this is how storage school students get deals done. So we have a lot of great lenders that will help our students with this, and they know storage like the back of your hand. They help them close and walk them through the process. But all in all, like, you guys, relationship capital and storage partnerships are worth more than cash. Like, bringing others in to win with you, and then taking, this deal on a silver platter and then milking it over time is so incredible. So super excited to just celebrate my student. Once he finished this, we hopefully will be doing due diligence together, which is exciting. So option number 4, okay, is, okay, a lot of people are like, okay, Brie, cool. So I understand the logistics of seller financing, and you walked me through some examples. Like, I get this question all the time. Well, why would a seller want to do seller financing? Or how do I find, storage facilities owners that want to do finance, like seller financing, and who are open to flexible terms, right? And so what I want to talk about is that, you guys, we have such a big opportunity. Like today, you guys, right now, we're in buy time. And with interest rates at 7% right now, and they've been like this for quite some time. And so the best storage deals, sometimes aren't always listed with, I would say, like brokers or wholesalers. They're in our hands every day. And so I teach my storage school students like how to fish. So, making sure we can find storage facilities, hidden mom and pop owners on Google Maps, and then also on Crexi and LoopNet that not a lot of people know. And then it's opening up that conversation, calling that owner and having that dialogue with them of, hey, would you ever consider an offer on your facility? And hey, if we did put an offer down, would you be open to being the bank and making more money over time? That is as simple as that. So this is something that we go through once a month. Is we talk about how do you find hidden on and off market deals? How do you approach a broker with a 3-part seller financing offer? And then also, how do you educate a storage owner on why the 4 different benefits of seller financing, and how it can really help them by selling their facility and being the bank. Okay. So really, really important. I always like to say, like, mom and pop owners, they've owned the facility for 8 to 12 to 15. I've seen, actually, last week I talked to someone who owned it for 40 years, which is wild. And they want to, not only build know, like, and trust with them, they want to help you. They want to offload their business baby because maybe their kids don't want it or their grandkids don't want it. And they want to make mailbox money because they've been running it for so long. And so it really is a great opportunity when you have a storage facility paid off over time to get $6,600 a month just doing nothing is sometimes more than they actually got when they had the facility. And doing all the operations themselves. Okay. So know, like, and trust is huge. And seller financing, you guys, all in all, with a big summary and putting this all together, is all about people, right? It's long-term people with long-term relationships. And so that is something I always like to talk about. Is it's education. It's building know, like, and trust with the seller and to the broker. It's telling them, hey, these are the benefits on the table. Which one do you want? And giving people the choice to, empower themselves, and then also pick the win-win offer. Okay. So I just wanted to make sure we recapped that. Is that we'll go into this a little bit more in detail, but I wanted to give you guys just an overarching, right, summary of what seller financing is, why sellers would say yes to seller financing, and then how do you actually creatively stack funding with an SBA, with private money lending, and then also a equity partner coming in to have 0 or none of your own money to carve off your own little equity of that deal. And that is your superpower. And then how do we target mom and pop owners for flexible deals to do seller financing? And then the last part is, like, how do we actually structure a 3-part offer? And so we went over all 4 of those. And then just always, again, I want to say this like 5 times, but remember, you guys, seller financing is all about people. It's not just about paperwork. So it's about building that relationship over time. really giving them the education they need, and then allowing them to come to you to pick that choice, and then following through and locking up the deal. Okay. So I hope you guys like this and came away with some big aha moments or questions about seller financing. I use this all the time after doing an SBA loan. Seller financing is like the meat and potatoes, the holy grail. And it's one of those things that we love to use and to think creatively on your feet to structure any type of deal in order to have that owner get their right price. And then for you, the ultimate goal for you is for it to cash flow, because you're going to be the one that's operating it, building up its efficiency. And so you need to make sure it has the right terms so that it can do so, right? So you guys, if you guys want to buy your first storage facility or have been thinking about it for some time, I'm really excited because we are with the self-storage school right now. It's not about having, $500,000 in the bank. It's not about being like the expert in self-storage, even to get started. It's literally just coming in and being like, hey, how can I buy a storage facility in 2025 and not just talk about it, but actually do the actions? So in self-storage school, what we do is we actually help you find and buy and then operate your first storage facility within 6 to 12 months. So if this is something you're interested in, love to have a conversation with you. If you guys have stayed to the end, I wanted to give you guys a blueprint. So we created a 0 down offer cheat sheet. And so it will walk you through 4 pages on how to actually use seller financing when talking to brokers or sellers. And then also, how can you input this into your everyday residential or investor lifestyle? So if you want this, make sure you DM me, or you can also send me a text message with the word cheat sheet to 916-579-7209, and I will send you that cheat sheet right to your inbox. Like, this is brand new. So really excited to see and hear about your guys' results from it. And then also any other questions that are lingering. So if you, again, are interested in buying your storage facility, this is why it's so important, is being a part of a group that is movers and groovers and that are getting deals under contract, and especially bringing deals to the table. So love to have a conversation with you. Have a wonderful day, and I'll talk to you soon.